Welcome back to the battle between Marv versus King Leonidas. Who will win? Before we dive deep into the analysis, please remember to subscribe and support my channel. Thank you so much. In the heart of the sinful Basin City, where darkness is thicker than light and law is often just a luxury concept, Marv isn't the kind of hero people easily trust, nor is he a simple villain. Marv exists on the thin line between good and evil, a giant with a massive physique, bulging muscles, disheveled hair, and a face perpetually covered in bandages, evidence of countless bloody battles he has endured. A former soldier, Marv carries wounds not just on his body, but deep within his mind. Short-term memory loss and hallucinations keep him in a semi-conscious state, as if reality and nightmares blend into one. Yet, in that very chaos, Marv adheres to a principle. He doesn't believe in conventional justice, but he believes in punishment. For Marv, evil must be met with retribution, and that price must be painful enough to be etched into the soul of the offender. Especially, he offers almost absolute protection to vulnerable women, seeing it as the last boundary preventing him from completely falling into darkness. He possesses terrifying strength, extraordinary endurance, and a will that is almost unbreakable. Once he embarks on a hunt, Marv will not stop, will not falter, until his enemy pays with their own life. He is like a storm, brutal and unforgiving. But sometimes, these very storms are the only things that can sweep away the decay, eating away at everything. Marv possesses hand strength enough to crush a skull with a single squeeze. Solid iron doors or window bars cannot stop him when his rage ignites. To Marv, the human body is as fragile as a doll, capable of being thrown, broken, or destroyed in an instant. Each of his punches is not merely an attack, but like a sentence immediately carried out. He can continue fighting after taking multiple gunshots, even fatal ones. Horrific impacts, electric torture, or heavy blows from a sledgehammer seem to only slow him down for a moment. It feels as if Marv's body knows no limits, as if he was created to exist in pain and transform that pain into motivation. Marv also possesses incredible stamina and speed. He can fight continuously without showing signs of exhaustion, even handling multiple weapons simultaneously with cold precision. In the dark, Marv moves quickly and silently, enough to prevent his prey from realizing danger is approaching. Marv doesn't rely on a fixed weapon. He can utilize anything in his hands, from guns and knives to his own body. When his anger erupts, his strength seems to increase even further, transforming him into an uncontrollable destruction machine. However, Marv is not without weaknesses. His unstable mind sometimes causes him to lose control or be deceived when he's not fully alert. Additionally, he has no protection other than his bare body, making every battle a life or death gamble. He is not immortal, but the way he gets back up after every knockdown gives people the impression that nothing can truly destroy this monster. In the dark world of Basin City, each of his exploits is like a storm sweeping through, leaving behind absolute devastation and a twisted yet haunting form of justice. Marv fights like a cornered beast. Bullets pierce his body, brutal blows rain down, but he gets up again and again. The battle with Kevin is the clearest proof of Marv's terror. Kevin was no ordinary human. He was fast, cruel, and possessed the nature of a true predator. But Marv did not back down. The confrontation turned into a mutual torture session, where both pushed past their physical limits. Ultimately, Marv won by tearing his opponent apart and finishing him off in the most brutal way. In a Dame to Kill for, Marv further demonstrated his superior strength by overwhelming Manute, a notoriously brutal, muscular giant. Not only did he defeat him, but Marv also made his opponent pay with his own eyes. By Nancy's last dance, Marv became a true fighting machine, single-handedly confronting an entire group of gunmen. With 2 shotguns in hand, he moved, shot down targets, and continued to advance without any signs of fatigue. Marv is also famous for his almost absurd ability to survive. He once walked away from the electric chair, endured horrific impacts and brutal forms of torture, yet continued to exist. But the most terrifying thing is not his survival, but the reason he refuses to fall. It all stems from his desire for revenge for Goldie, one of the few people who ever made Marv feel understood. This transformed him into a nightmare for the entire criminal underworld. He single-handedly swept through every corner of the city, hunting down every involved individual like an inescapable ghost. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon, and turn on notifications so you can catch our latest videos as soon as they drop. Thank you all so much. Now we will talk about King Leonidas. Leonidas, king of Sparta, ruled not just by power, but by his spear and his iron will. From a young age, Leonidas underwent the rigorous agoge training system, where every child was forged into a warrior, learning to endure pain, control fear, and prioritize the collective over individual life. That process created a Leonidas who knew no retreat. He was the embodiment of absolute discipline, unwavering courage, and the belief that a true warrior only truly lives when ready to face death. Leonidas appeared with commanding presence, his red cloak flowing in the wind, shield and spear in hand, his gaze firm as if he had foreseen the outcome, yet still chose to advance. The fated confrontation with Xerxes and the massive Persian army was not just a battle of forces, but also a clash of two ideologies. On one side, overwhelming power. On the other, an unyielding will. Leading 300 elite warriors, Leonidas did not promise victory. He offered only one thing, the chance to fight with all the pride of a Spartan. What made Leonidas great was not how many enemies he could defeat, but how he faced adversity. He knew clearly that he was entering an unbalanced battle where death was almost inevitable. But instead of fear, Leonidas transformed that truth into strength, instilling in his soldiers the belief that dying for freedom was more valuable than a life lived in subjugation. His attacks were not just defensive, they could also inflict serious damage, enough to bring an opponent down with a single blow. As an adult, Leonidas reached a level of strength few could match. A single shield bash from him could fell large warriors, and his spear thrusts were powerful enough to pierce armor and end battles in a flash. Every movement was decisive, precise, and carried a power that struck fear into his enemies. Leonidas's speed and reflexes were also distinguishing factors. On the battlefield, he could face multiple attacks simultaneously while maintaining absolute control. Every step, every dodge, was calculated as an instinct deeply ingrained in his blood. He could fight continuously for hours, not just due to physical stamina, but also thanks to his steel will forged over years. Leonidas was a master of using the spear and shield, especially Sparta's renowned phalanx formation strategy. Not just a warrior, he was also an outstanding leader. Leonidas understood how to utilize terrain, transforming narrow places like Thermopylae into strategic advantages, where the enemy's overwhelming numbers were no longer an absolute superiority. Leonidas's endurance was also what made him extraordinary. Despite sustaining numerous wounds from swords and arrows, he continued to stand firm, continuing to fight as if his body knew no limits. He could be overwhelmed by sheer numbers of enemies or weapons with great piercing power, but it was precisely this mortality that highlighted his value, because he knew he could fall, yet still chose to advance. Under Leonidas's leadership, 300 Spartan warriors, along with a small allied force, held firm for 3 days against seemingly endless waves of attacks. Each wave of Persian troops surged forward only to be pushed back, leaving behind long lines of dead soldiers. Even Xerxes' elite Immortals Guard could not breach that solid defense. His individual feats were powerfully symbolic. Kicking the Persian messenger into the well was not just a challenge, but a clear declaration of an unyielding spirit. On the battlefield, every sword, swing, or shield bash carried destructive power. He could take down opponents in a single attack, break enemy ranks, and create openings for his comrades to advance. Even when facing giant war creatures or the most seasoned warriors, Leonidas maintained his composure and control. The moment he hurled his spear towards Xerxes, piercing through the distance and striking directly at the target, even though it couldn't end the war, it deeply etched a message that even a king could be touched by human courage. Knowing that death was inevitable, he still chose to stay with his 300 warriors to buy time, creating an opportunity for Greece to unite. That sacrifice was not in vain, for it ignited the flame of resistance in the hearts of the entire nation. Leonidas was not just a king or a warrior. He was a symbol of the 300 Spartan spirit, where skill, tactics, and bravery could stand equal to an entire massive army. And in that final moment, when all hope seemed to fade, he proved that immortality lies not in survival, but in the spiritual legacy a person leaves behind. In an arena that's a blend of Basin City's decaying darkness and Thermopylae's harsh terrain, the confrontation between Leonidas and Marv begins without hesitation from Leonidas. He charged forward with the speed and precision of a true Spartan warrior, shield held high and spear aimed directly at his target. The strike carried his full strength and will, enough to fell any enemy. But Marv was no ordinary opponent. He met the blow almost head-on, allowing the spear tip to slice through his flesh without flinching. A deranged smile appeared, and immediately after, a sledgehammer-like punch crashed into the shield, forcing Leonidas to step back to regain his balance. Leonidas switched to a disciplined fighting style, maximizing his shield and spear techniques in the phalanx style. Continuous thrusts, precise pushes aimed at controlling the distance. However, Marv virtually ignored it all. He absorbed every blow, advancing like an unstoppable juggernaut. In an explosive moment, Marv seized the spear, snapping it with brute force, then shattered Leonidas's defense with a punch that splintered the shield. Leonidas was forced to draw his sword, unleashing a series of sharp slashes, leaving distinct wounds. But the terrifying thing was that Marv still wouldn't fall. He counterattacked by grabbing his opponent and throwing him like a weightless object. Leonidas's will endured. He rose, using his speed and reflexes to dodge, counterattacking with high precision. However, this was also when Marv became most dangerous. His rage erupted, transforming him into the embodiment of pure violence. His punches not only caused damage but also destroyed parts of his opponent's body. Armor was torn, shoulder bones crushed under terrifying hand strength. Still, Leonidas did not retreat. He poured all his strength into a decisive thrust, making Marv bleed, but it was still not enough to end the battle. Marv closed in, locked down his opponent, and continuously pressed with overwhelming force. Heavy impacts gradually wore down Leonidas's body. Though he still fought with all the honor of a Spartan king, he could not break his own physical limits. And then, in a brutal moment, Marv ended the battle by completely incapacitating his opponent in his characteristic cold and savage style. Marv was stronger, and Marv won. What do you all think about this battle? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you all so much.